A very good day. Welcome you all to the course Research Methodology. Today's session will be types of research. So when we look into types of research, you are supposed to go through research design as well, because many of the types will be overlapping. So the types will be coming in the research design as well. So what we need to do is like the classifications of research design, like we'll have the types as well. So types of research. So in research design, we have studied about descriptive research, explanatory research, and experimental research. So here, when we get a question like types of research, we can classify that into different ways. But we would have seen all this in the research design as well. So you can classify that as qualitative and quantitative, cross-sectional versus longitudinal, descriptive, analytical, basic, theoretical, pure conceptual. So it's theory-based type of research, philosophical, historical, survey method, experimental, action research, and case study. Actually, you are supposed to go through research designs as well before you take up research methods. So cross-sectional study, we will be looking into one by one, the merits, demerits, and the characteristics of the different types. We'll be looking into it one by one. Cross-sectional study actually is defined as a type of observational research that analyzes data of variables collected at a given point of time across a sample population or a predefined subset. This study type is also known as cross-sectional analysis, transfer study, or prevalence study. Although cross-sectional research does not involve conducting experiments, researchers often use it to understand outcomes in the physical and social sciences and many business industries as well. So when you look into the characteristics of cross-sectional study, researchers can conduct it with the same set of variables over a period. Similar research may look at the same variable of interest, but each study observes a new set of subjects. So the cross-sectional analysis assesses topics during a single instant with a defined start and stopping point. So unlike longitudinal study where variables can change during extensive research, so they keep on happening for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years and all. So the subject also keeps changing over a period of time. Whereas in cross-sectional study, we have got only one set of variables that over that period. Okay. So after we finish that, then we go to the next set of variables. So cross-sectional study allows a researcher to look into one independent variable as the focus of cross-sectional study and one or more dependent variables. So the data collected in a cross-sectional study involves subjects or participants who are similar in all variables, except the one which is under review. So this variable remains constant throughout the cross-sectional study. I have given examples of that. In detailed segment, cross-sectional research can be conducted on men and women in a specific age range to reveal similarities and differences in spending trends related to gender. In business, researchers can conduct a cross-sectional study to understand how people of different socioeconomic status from one geographical segment respond to one change in an offering. So in healthcare, scientists in healthcare may use cross-sectional research to understand how children ages 2 to 12 across the United States are prone to calcium deficiency. Education. A cross-sectional study in school is particularly helpful in understanding how students who scored within a particular grade range in the same preliminary courses perform with a new curriculum. So in psychology, actually, and the example is, it involves different groups of people who do not share the same variable of interest, like the variables which we are focusing, but we do share other relevant variables as well. So these may include age, range, gender, identity, socio-economical status, so on and so forth. So in cross-sectional study, it is also descriptive in nature. So here, what we do is we use a survey frequently, widely, or severely the variable of interest, which occurs throughout a specific demographics. So here, analytical research is a part of it, which investigates association between two related or unrelated parameters. Other medical research has shown that coal mining is detrimental to lungs, but but we don't want those assumptions to bias your current study. So what are the advantages of cross-sectional study? So each type has got its own advantages and disadvantages. Here, it's very quick to conduct, and researchers can collect all variables at a single point of time. Multiple outcomes can be researched at one instance. Prevalence of all factors can be measured. We can find out everything. It's suitable for descriptive analysis. Okay, not for exploratory, it is for descriptive. Researchers can use it as a springboard for further research. Longitudinal study. So it happens over a period of time. So it is conducted over an extended period of time. It is mostly used in medical research in other areas like psychology or sociology. When using this method, a longitudinal study can pay off with actionable insights. When you have the time to engage in long-term research projects, longitudinal study often uses survey to collect the data that is either qualitative or quantitative. So additionally, in a longitudinal study, a survey creator does not interfere with survey participants. Instead, the survey creator distributes questionnaire over time to observe changes in participants' behavior or attitude. So many medical studies are longitudinal. So researchers note and collect data from the same subjects over what can be many years. So types of longitudinal study, we have got a panel study, a cohort study, and retrospective study. So a panel study involves a sample of people from a more significant population, and it is conducted at specific intervals for a most extended period. So cohort study, here the example is the medical researchers tend to conduct cohort studies. Some might consider clinical trials similar to cohort studies as well. So in cohort studies, researcher merely observes the participant without giving any intervention, unlike clinical trials in which the participants undergo some test. Retrospective study uses already existing data collected during previous conducted research with similar methodology and variables. While doing a retrospective study, the researcher uses an administered database, pre-existing medical records, or one-to-one interview. So what is the advantage of longitudinal study? It has got greater validation. So for a long-term study to be successful, the objectives and rules must be established from the beginning. So as it is a long-term study, it is actually authenticity is verified in advance, which makes the results having a higher level of validity as well. So the data is very unique. So most research study collect short-term data to determine the cause and effect of what is being investigated. But in longitudinal study, they follow the same principle, but the data collection period is different. So long-term relationship cannot be discovered in a short-term investigation, but short-term relationship can be monitored in a long-term investigation. So allow identifying trends. Whether in medicine, psychology, or sociology, the long-term design of a longitudinal study enables trends and relationships to be found within the data collected in real period. The previous data can be applied to know future results and have greater discoveries as well. So longitudinal studies are always flexible. Although a longitudinal study can be created to study a specific data point, the data collected can show unforeseen patterns or relationships that can be significant, but this is a long-term study. The researcher has got a flexibility that is not possible with any other research formats, because here you can actually change the subjects. So disadvantages, actually the main disadvantage is the long term. So we have got some unpredictable research. Supposing if there is an environmental turbulence, so that may actually completely turn over the research. So it may also take several years before the data begins to produce observable patterns or relationships that can be monitored. So an unpredictable factor is always present. It must be taken into account that the initial sample can be lost over time, because longitudinal study involves the same subjects over a long period of time. What happens to them outside of data collection, data collection times can influence the data which is collected for the future. So some people may decide to stop participating in the research. Others may not be in the correct demographics for research. If these factors are not included in initial research design, they could affect the findings that are generated. So large samples are needed for the investigation to be meaningful. To develop relationships or patterns, a large number of data must be collected and extracted to generate results. So higher without a doubt, the longitudinal study is more complex and expensive. Its cost, the cost also is very high. Being a long-term form of research, the cost it goes for decades compared to other forms of research that can be completed in smaller fractions of time. So here, different groups compared the same time, same group compared over the time. So I've tabulated the differences between these two. So longitudinal study takes a longer time. Cross-sectional study is very quick to conduct. Here, longitudinal study investigator requires to observe the participant in different time intervals, but here in cross-sectional, he conducts it over a specified time. So longitudinal studies can offer researchers a cause and effect relationship, but here in cross-sectional, it is not possible. In longitudinal study, only one variable can be observed or studied, whereas in cross-sectional, you can use different variables. Longitudinal studies tend to be more expensive, whereas cross-sectional studies, since the time span is little, it is very lesser in price. But we have got some benefits of longitudinal study. We can use it to find out the market trend and to find out the brand awareness during the product launch, to find out the customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and cohort studies as well. So next comes experimental design. I've spoken very much elaborately about this in the research design unit itself. It's in unit number 4. Please refer to that as well. Experimental research is research conducted with scientific approach using two set of variables. So one is the test group, another one is the control. Success of experimental studies hinges on researcher confirming the change of variable based solely on the manipulation of the constant variable. Okay, we have a constant, control variable. So here we are trying to find out the cause and effect. So you can conduct experimental research in following situations where time is a factor, invariable behavior between cause and effect. You wish to understand the importance of cause and effect. So pre-experimental research, a group or various groups are kept under observation after implementing the factors of cause and effect. So we can break down pre-experimental research into 3 types further. One-shot case research design, one group pre-test post-test research design, and static group comparison. True experimental research is also there. Here, it relies on statistical analysis to prove or disprove a hypothesis, making it more accurate form of research. Experimental research is the only true design that can establish a cause and effect. So there is a control group which won't be subject to any changes. So you just keep it like that. We are not going to administer anything on that. So only one variable, which is a test group, we are going to manipulate it by the manipulated. A random distribution is possible. So this actually occurs in physical sciences. So quasi-experimental design is also there. Quasi is nothing but semi, it's similar to experimental, but it's not the same. The difference between the two is the assignment of the control variable. So in this research, an independent variable is actually manipulated, but the participants of a group are not randomly assigned. Quasi research is used in field settings where random assignment is either irrelevant or it's not required. So there are many advantages of experimental research. The researcher has a stronger hold over variables to obtain desired results. The subject or industry does not impact the effectiveness of experimental research. Any industry can implement it for research purpose. The results are specific. After analyzing the results, you can apply your findings to similar ideas or situations. You can identify the cause and effect of the hypothesis as well. The researcher can further analyze this relationship, determine more in-depth ideas into it. So experimental research makes an ideal starting point. The data what we collect is the foundation on which we build on more ideas and conduct more research. Thank you for the patient listening. So kindly go through unit number 4, which talks about the research design, and you can use it in your research work and for taking up your examinations as well. Thank you. See you.